Yeah, let's talk about National Hot Rod Association. 3 weeks ago, John Force, Hall of Fame driver, drag racer, involved in a horrific crash. His dragster exploded at the finish line at 300 miles an hour, hit two walls. The entire vehicle was engulfed in flames. Credit to NHRA and auto racing, the integrity of the drag racer held in place. He suffered significant internal injuries from the violence of the crash. He did not get badly burned because of the fire suits and the helmets, etc. However, he suffered brain damage. He's been in ICU in a trauma unit in Virginia for 3 weeks. He was just transferred via private plane to California, has gone into a rehab center. He has massive memory loss, but he's alive. He does have use of his limbs, etc., but there is some brain trauma. But they saved his life. So John Force, I don't think he'll ever race again, but he's alive, and he was able to actually to walk out of the cockpit of that drag racer. I don't know if you've seen the video. You got to find it. It's just Google John Force drag racing crash. You won't believe how bad it was and how he walked away from it. I mean,
unbelievable.
It was absolutely stunning. Let's talk about the next topic on the table. A lot of controversy in Formula One. Max Verstappen continues to drop hints that he doesn't like the way things are going, and he might leave. And I mean, it's hard to believe that Red Bull has totally dominated Formula One, and they're talking that he might leave, and they're upset with the way he's handled races the second half of the season because people have caught up to him. Lewis Hamilton beat him. Lando Norris beat him. And suddenly he's not the dominant guy, and they're not the dominant team. And some people are kind of barking about that, and they think he's become a distraction. Should I go? Should I stay? What are you doing? He's had accidents. He's been involved in controversial hits on the track with other drivers, racing for corners, etc. So suddenly he's just having a really, really tough time. Next topic on the table, and there's just an awful lot here to discuss. This involves another driver, Lando Norris. He's catching a lot of heat. He looked like he was going to drive himself back into the F1 points championship because he's placed up near the top a lot, and he's won some races, beaten Verstappen. He got criticized this week that he's taken too many risks. He's leaving too many victories out there because he's doing stupid things on the track. They want him to dial it down. He says, I can't do that. I have to drive the vehicle, etc. So there's a little bit of controversy there. Golf, Ryder Cup. Tiger Woods was offered the captaincy for the Ryder Cup, turned it down. Tiger is spending what he says enormous amounts of time in the merger talks between the PGA and the LIV. Evidently, Tiger carries great credibility at the negotiating table with the private investment fund of Saudi Arabia, which is going to pay $3 billion if this merger goes through. Tiger said, I don't have the time to be the Ryder Cup captain. So they chose a good guy, Keegan Bradley, longtime pro. The guy that didn't get chosen, and this was brought up for a vote, Phil Mickelson. He seemed to be the hot candidate to become the historical Ryder Cup captain because the next Ryder Cup is going to be at Bethpage Black on Long Island, where Phil Mickelson won. He was voted down.
Interesting.
He was voted down by the players on the tour policy board. Why?
LIV.
He was the first that went.
Yeah.
And he was the one who was making phone calls to guys, come join me. Yes, you might violate your tour policy card. Come join me. Players put their foot down or pounded on the table, said, no, we don't want Phil Mickelson. So there is still a lot of bad blood between the guys on the PGA Tour that stayed loyal and the guys that took the money and disappeared off the face of the earth. So that's interesting. And last topic on the table, the hockey team in town, San Diego Gulls. They just released the American Hockey League schedule. Somebody needs to explain me why this happens. The Gulls are going to open with 2 games on the road in the American Hockey League in Toronto against the Marlies, Maple Leafs' top team. Well, you always play back-to-back games on the road when you travel out of the division. You know, last year they played back-to-back games in Milwaukee. So anyhow, they open with the Toronto Marlies. Great. Come home with the Coachella Valley Firebirds. That's their home opener, or mid-October. I think it's October 12th to 13th, the Friday night. That's okay, Coachella Valley's top team, Pacific Division, went to the AHL finals before they lost to Hershey. Then they go on the road. They play 7 of their first 8 away from home.
Oh, wow.
Just a brutal schedule. And to complicate it, we talked briefly about this. This has been an unbelievably busy July in hockey. The Gulls, a.k.a. the Anaheim Ducks parent team, have lost 5 of their top veteran players who've now left the team to go to other NHL clubs on other AHL contracts. And they've not replaced any of them with established guys. I don't know what kind of team they're going to have on the ice. They're going to be young, there's no doubt about it. But when you let 5 of your best players, your oldest, most experienced guys go and don't keep them, and they've not re-signed Chase DeLeo, their captain, yet either. So there's all kinds of problems with the Ducks handling of Gulls hockey. And I'm biased because I'm a big hockey guy. I saw John pounding on the glass, sitting next to the blonde behind the penalty box on a Friday night, drinking beer and watching puck. But the Ducks have got to do a better job taking care of the American Hockey League franchise. I'm the only one in town that's screaming about what the Ducks are doing in Anaheim, because all that has an impact on what happens to the San Diego Gulls. John, you can respond to any of those topics on the table.
Well, I just a question about the minor league hockey, because I think in baseball terms, because the AAA is regionalized, right? Mm-hmm. Is hockey's AAA, to call it that, is it nationwide, or is there 2 different leagues?
No, there's 30 teams in the American Hockey League.
Okay, so it's they're traveling cross country.
Well, no, they out here, because they started the Pacific Division. There's 9 teams in the Pacific Division. They play each other a bunch. Mm-hmm. But then, Tucson's in there, Bakersfield's in there, a couple Western Canada teams are in there. But then they do play a couple of teams in other divisions. They'll play the Toronto Marlies for 2 up there. Somebody from that division will come here and play 2 games in San Diego. Mm-hmm. So there's a total of 70 games on the schedule, but I think maybe 62 of the 70 are in the Pacific Division. And then you cross over. You play the Dallas Stars, top farm club in Texas, the Texas Stars. You might play the Milwaukee Admirals. You're obviously going to play the Marlies. So, but the bulk of it is in the Pacific Division. There's 1 AHL team for every NHL team. Mm-hmm. And the Ducks, for example, they pay all the expenses of the players they put here. They pay the operations expenses.
That was what I was wondering. Yes. Yeah, because that's a big investment to have them go cross country. It's not like they're making big bank in San Diego.
No, but what they do is it's the reason they play a huge Pacific Division schedule is economics, right, more than anything.
That makes sense.
But the LA Kings top farm club is the Ontario Reign, which is the big rivalry of the Gulls. So that's how the structure is. It works really well. It's a long hockey season, but I'm the one that's screeching about I don't understand what they're doing in Anaheim, because what they do in Anaheim definitely impacts the product on the ice. And the product on the ice 3 years in a row here hadn't been very good. And to me, it looks even worse now, because they allowed their top 5 veteran players who are the stabilizers of the roster. They just lost Trevor Carrick, big defenseman. Before that, they lost Anthony Agazzino, one of their goal scorers, Glenn Gaudin, one of their big right wingers. These guys have gone. Who are the Ducks going to put in here to help these kids that they put in here for the Gulls? Tough call.
Yeah, it is a tough call, but I think the Ducks, they don't really care about how well the San Diego team performs.
It's developing.
Right. They want to develop guys, and maybe they thought those veterans just, were a 4A player. They weren't going to really cut it at the top level.
But they are 4A players, but everybody's got 4A players. I mean, the Kings are signing 4A players to put in Ontario. Mm-hmm. San Jose's got 4A players for their...
But like depth pieces, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Leadership guys.
Right. Now, one other comment you made, you talked about the Toronto, what was the name of the team?
Marlies, Marlboros.
Okay, so is that like a Toronto thing? I don't understand that. What is that?
Marlboros was the name of the legendary junior team that was very successful in the city of Toronto.
Oh.
Way back in the day, into the 50s, into the 60s, into the 70s. Toronto Marlies were the elite junior hockey team.
What does that word mean? I mean,
Marlboros has got something to do with English.
Yeah, because I think of cigarettes. I think of Marlboro.
No. Go in your spare time. Okay. Just go look up the logo of the Toronto Marlies. You'll better understand. They're the AHL farm club of the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Okay.
The Laval Rockets in Quebec are the farm club of the Montreal Canadiens.
Okay.
Manitoba Moose are the farm club of the Winnipeg Jets, right
Okay.
next door. They play in the same city.
Manitoba Moose. I like that.
Yeah,
name.
it's cool. So, I mean, American Hockey League's got great following. Okay, those